So I want to ask, you are wrapping up 12 years. In addition to investing in the infrastructure that allows city staff to do their jobs and do their jobs well and show the community how hard, the work that they're doing, what other advice have you would what other advice do you have that you can share with people who are aspiring to impact their communities, large or small, in this way?
Well, I think first of all, it's really important to start out by volunteering in your community and getting to know parts of your community that you might not have ever interacted with, but for taking that opportunity to volunteer. Get outside your comfort zones. I mean, cities are dynamic places, and it's important to ensure that you are taking into consideration all of the diversity and all of the diverse voices that exist within your community. And I think it's also important to, as I've said over and over, surround yourself with really good people. That's critically important. And then give them the tools that they need to do their jobs, because that's the second piece. I'm very mindful of the fact that I can't ask any commissioner or director or even frontline employee to do something and then not give them the tools to do it. And so I also think it's important to really discern. Think about, what is your leadership style? We all have different leadership styles. Mine is servant leadership. And so I have to stay true to that. I can't try to be a different type of leader, even when some people are wishing that I would be a different type of leader. There are some who like someone who pounds their fist on the desk and says, go do this. But that's not my leadership style. And so I think the other piece that has really helped me is, when you look at all of the different things that a leader can do and all of the different ways that you can lead, trying to crystallize that down to what's going to drive you every day is really important, because as you know, there are so many distractions and there are so many ways that you can get pulled into a different direction. And sometimes it's okay to go with the flow, but sometimes you have to be able to say, and now that I'm at the end of my term, I'm really able to say, you know what, that's a great idea, but that's going to be a next mayor idea, right? I don't have the bandwidth right now to take that ball and advance it, because I have to advance these other balls and get these projects finished. And so I think that final thing I would say is just being really honest and sincere with people. I think people want, even when you know that ultimately you're gonna say no, take the meeting anyway. Listen with empathy, with a lot of empathy, and then be willing to communicate with empathy why that answer is not now. And people will appreciate it. They might not like it, they might not like the answer, but be willing and open to having that difficult conversation. I focus, my mantras are, I start with the citizen in mind, right? Like, what is this going to do for the citizens of the city of Albany? And that's kind of the first, because you can get pulled in a lot of different directions. So I try to stop myself and say, what is this going to do? Start with the citizen in mind. What gets measured gets done. So you can talk about all these great ideas, but that if you're not following up and you don't have any way of measuring that, believe me, your team is not out there executing on it, because they're going to execute on what you're measuring and what you're asking them about on a regular basis. And I think the final thing is that, risk makes progress happen. We can't be so risk averse that we do nothing. It's when you take risk that you can see that progress. And I think as elected officials, we really worry about that sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Who's going to look at this? How are they going to look at it? Am I going to get reelected? And I've really tried to focus on, nope, I'm going to show success. I'll give you a final example. I know we're probably running out of time, but our new zoning code said we want to build dense housing near our largest employers. We have 2 huge hospitals in the city of Albany. And so that meant that we could build apartments in an area of the city that had been mostly single family homes. And there was this really ugly, low slung strip mall, I guess you would call it, across from St. Peter's Hospital, one of our largest employers. And we had a proposal to create market rate apartments there that were going to be 5 stories tall. Shock, horror. 5 stories across from a 13-story hospital. People protested, including my brother-in-law who lives in Albany. He was one of the leaders. They called themselves Stop the Stories. Um, and and I said, this flies in the face of what we all said we wanted when we created this comprehensive plan. But I stuck with it, and I stuck with it, and I stuck with it. And now it's built, and there's a restaurant. The post office is there. There's a really cute gift shop that is also a florist. There's a Starbucks, and everybody loves it. And so,
Including your brother-in-law, I have to ask.
like, he doesn't talk to me about it anymore. So I don't know that he would admit that he was wrong, but I'm going to take that as the win. I'm going to take it as a W. We still see each other. We had him over for dinner on Christmas Eve. But that said, that risk was important. Some mayors would have said, "Oh, wait, I need those votes, right? I need those votes in that neighborhood." But I knew that what we were doing was the right thing for the city in the long term, and we stuck with it, and now we're benefiting from it.